welcome to TezMania TV. Today I am doing a Q&A and it is geek or nerd themed. One of you suggested this the last time I was going to do a Q&A and I had already decided on the theme when that suggestion came up, but I thought it was such a good idea. So today we're going to talk about my geeky side. Fnai Orchid says, who is your all-time favorite cosplayer and what is your favorite fandom, and would you get a tattoo of that comic or show? I recently got into cosplaying. I don't know crazy much about it. I haven't watched a bunch of other people do it, other than people I follow on Instagram, so I don't know that I know it well enough to have a favorite cosplayer. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of talented people, but I don't think that I'm set in the game enough to have a favorite already. My favorite fandom, and would I get a tattoo of that? There are so many great things out there, but you guys know that I love Tank Girl. And I've been cosplaying as Tank Girl, and I guess right now that's what I'm all about. I love the comics, and the movie is awesome, even though the comics are way better. She's just such a badass, awesome, fun character, and I kind of relate to her in a lot of ways too. And I would totally get a Tank Girl tattoo. I actually have plans to incorporate her in an upcoming tattoo. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to do that tattoo, but she's gonna be on me at some point. Sangeeta Ragunanan says, it's a very important question to me anyway, since I've never seen this in my country. What is fetish goth and how is it different from the style you are? First of all, I don't identify as goth. I might have in the past, but I identify as punk. Important difference. The most important difference other than the style is that I listen to punk music most of the time. Like, I like all kinds of different music, but punk is where my heart is at, and it's always been that way. I started out being alternative when I was like 13, and I got into punk because my brother is a punk, and then kind of tried all kinds of different stuff and then came back to punk. So that is where my heart lies. Nothing wrong with goth though, and you guys know that I mix in influences from other alternative styles all the time. But fetish goth, like its own style, just less of the traditional kind of Victorian stuff and more like PVC corsets and like sexy shit. It's more about being sexy than just looking nice, if that makes sense. Tally Manning says, how are you so amazing? That's not about being geeky. Or maybe I am amazing because I am a nerd. Huh. Ricky Hewson says, do you read comic books? If yes, which ones? Yes, I read comic books. I grew up reading comic books, and there are a bunch of ones that I love. Spider-Man has always been a favorite. I love Spider-Man. I subscribed to that comic for a long time, and I don't know, he's just kind of easygoing and funny and not so serious like Batman can be, for instance. I really like that. That's one of my favorite qualities of Spider-Man. Swedish comic books that I read, my favorite one is called Niemi. It's actually a Norwegian cartoonist who makes that one. I've been a subscriber for that magazine since it first came out, which was like 15 years ago probably. So yeah, I freaking love that. She's a goth, like metalhead, awesome, hilarious girl. There are a lot of talented cartoonists here in Sweden, like Lina Neidestam, for instance. She does this hilarious feminist cartoon about a woman named Zelda. It's so awesome. But I read all kinds of comic books, really, but yeah, those are my favorites, I guess. And when it comes to like albums, like the bigger books, obviously Tank Girl is my favorite. Robin Eddy says, what is your favorite movie? My all-time favorite movie is The Fifth Element. I freaking love that movie. I can watch it so many times. I'll probably cosplay as Lilu at some point because I just freaking love her. Izzy says, what's your most inspired movie you've seen of all time? Well, inspired movie, I guess, I mean, The Fifth Element is very inspiring, like style-wise and stuff, because that yeah, it's just awesome. I guess you find different kinds of inspiration in different kinds of movies, because I can be super inspired by a movie like The Fifth Element, but I can also be inspired by horror movies or by comedies or by whatever. Izumi says, what is your strangest kind of hobby? I guess ASMR is pretty strange to some people if you're not into it. I don't know if I would call that a hobby though. It's like a means for relaxation. If you aren't perceptive to ASMR, then it probably sounds really weird to you. And if you don't know what that is, I do have a video explaining what ASMR is. I used to make ASMR videos. I stopped though because I don't think I have the proper equipment to make things at the level that I would like to, but go have a look at what that is if you want to know more. CB Potato says DC or Marvel. Listen, I like both. They both make great stuff, but I am a Marvel girl at heart because those were my favorite comics when I grew up, especially Spider-Man. But DC does some pretty good stuff too. Wonder Woman was awesome, for instance. Nemzi says, what are your top 3 fandoms? I don't know, fandom is such a... I've never used that word myself because it feels like such a big concept. Like, I may be geeky, but I'm not that geeky, if that makes sense. So I don't consume an entire world of something just because I like a movie or a book. I might have been more like that when I was younger. Right now, though, I kind of don't have time. And I just kind of try to consume as much of everything as possible instead of just like sneak into one path, if that makes sense. But I mean, if we're gonna talk genres, like in general, instead of specific fandoms, I love comic books, I love superhero movies, I love horror movies, so I guess like those 3 general genres, but I don't really geek out to the point where I would say like I have favorite fandoms. I like too much stuff to just pick 3, if that makes sense. J1Y02 says, Joker or Batman? I gotta pick the Joker. Batman is kind of uptight and entertaining and intelligent and creates all these things, but I like the Joker. I love the madness of that character, and he's like truly evil and doesn't give a fuck about anyone else but himself. Yeah, he's an interesting character for sure. Selin-Kine85 says, any other piercing plans? I don't know if this constitutes as geeky, but maybe it does because I have a lot of shit, so I'll just answer it quickly because no, I don't have any plans, and I would love to have an industrial piercing as she suggests, but ears have been fucking awful for me when it comes to healing, and cartilage piercings are awful, and I just don't want to go through that, so I don't think I have the patience for an industrial piercing, even though they look awesome. Melanie Darling says, would you maybe make a video someday for tips, tricks, and tools for first-time cosplayers and for not-so-handcrafty people how to get started? I have cosplay dreams, but no skills and no courage has kept me from it so far. Listen, I'm not a professional cosplayer. I've done it a couple of times, and I have done it with very simple means. So if I can do it, you can do it too. You don't have to make it advanced. Like the video I made for the rocket boobs that I made for when I was Tank Girl, those were made from plastic soda bottles. Like, you can make things very, very easily. You just have to get started, and don't pick the most advanced character. Like, pick something that you actually can do. It doesn't have to be like with big horns or big like weapons and stuff. You can keep things simple if you want to. But I don't know if I would make a video on it. Maybe someday in the future when I've done it way more, but right now it's like I've kind of recently discovered it myself, so it doesn't feel right to be telling people how to do things. Armin's Wench says, what was the first comic series that really captured your imagination and your first cosplay? Well, again, Spider-Man has been with me my entire life, and me and my brother were Marvel like sponges when we were kids, and I've always loved Spider-Man, so I guess he was my first comic book love. And my first cosplay, well, I mean, the only time I've cosplayed at stuff like Comic-Con, I've been Tank Girl. But I've dressed up as characters outside of that. But then it's been like for Halloween and stuff, so it doesn't really count as cosplays. So like my actual real first cosplay, yeah, that was Tank Girl, and that was last year. So I am new at this, you guys. Hildzagar says, do you play any board games or video games? Yeah, not crazy frequently. My husband is not very fond of board games, so it doesn't happen all that often. My brother is a huge fan, though. He has a closet filled to the brim with board games, and we played a lot when we were kids. So we used to have like game nights at his house. It's been a while now, though. Sometimes we have game nights with friends and stuff, but it's not crazy often. I kind of miss it sometimes. My favorite board game of all time is called Drakborgen, which I guess translates into the Dragon's Castle. I don't have it. My brother has the version of the game that we grew up with. He has it at his place, and it's just the best game ever. You set the board, and the board is this big castle, and in the middle is this chamber with all the gold in the world, pretty much guarded by a dragon. And your character picks like room trays, and you build your own way into the middle, and you can die like in the first room if you're unfortunate, and you have to wait until everybody else is done, and you fight like orcs and stuff. It's, oh my god, it's the best game ever, and I so want to play it right now. And video games, yeah, I still have my old 8-bit Nintendo, and we have a PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 is for party games, like we play Buzz and sing karaoke when we have people over sometimes. But the Nintendo is, I mostly break that out when I'm sick and stuck on the couch for a couple of days. Like I said before, I don't really have time to play games on a day-to-day basis, and when I want to relax, I kind of choose to watch movies and stuff instead, because that just demands even less of me, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do love my Nintendo, and my all-time favorite game is Zelda, the very first one, the Golden Pack. I have it, I can see it right now. And yeah, I can play that game until the cows come home. More Human then says, are you a fan of Blade Runner, the movie? And if you are so, are you planning to see Blade Runner 2049? I actually saw Blade Runner for the first time ever earlier this year, and I didn't like it. I thought it kind of sucked. And part of that might be because I saw it now, and like, you can tell that it's an old movie, and you're so used to the fancy pan CGI and stuff nowadays, so that everything looks crap compared to it. But part of that is also because it's a fucking sexist piece of shit movie, and I just don't like it. And do I plan on seeing the new one? Maybe at some point, but I'm sure as fuck not going to spend any money on it and go see it in the movie theaters, because I don't know, it doesn't really appeal to me. And I know that a lot of people are going to be butthurt about that, because it's like a classic cult movie for a lot of you, but I didn't see it when I was a kid. And seeing it now, I didn't like it. And then the last question is from Androvez98. Can you make a video about what's in your bag? I probably have the most boring bag of all times, so I don't think that would be a very fun video. I just have my keys, my phone, and my wallet in there. That's it. So yeah, that was all the questions that you guys asked, and what can I say about my geeky side that we haven't said already? Like, I love movies is my main thing. I love movies, horror movies. None of you asked any questions about that though, but yeah, that's fine. That's one of the things that my husband and I love to do together. He's a big horror movie fan. He's covered in tattoos from different horror movies and stuff. Yeah, I like collecting some dolls and figurines and stuff like that. That's always fun. I like TV shows like Buffy. I like The Flash. I like the first kind of couple of seasons of Supernatural before it got really old. And yeah, stuff like that. So that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for asking. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Love you.